And the board members present at the moment are George Braxton, myself, Ben Campbell, and Eldridge Coles. We are anticipating the attendance of two others who are Ian Milliken and Danny. So let's see what we've got. We've got no public comments, Ms. Rose Pace, but we do have you have to read something to us anyway, right?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chair. Bear with me as I read the required statement. Good morning. This meeting is being conducted virtually in compliance with City of Richmond Ordinance number 2020-093. The public notice, meeting agenda, and agenda attachments for this December 21st, 2021 standing meeting of the boards of GRTC, RideFinders, and Old Dominion Transit Management Company were posted on December 17th, 2021 at ridegrtc.com. For the meeting notice, all written comments received via email by Carrie Rose Pace prior to 5 p.m. on the day preceding a meeting were provided to all members of the board the night before the meeting, and they are read during the public comment period of the meeting by staff following the 2-minute speaking limit and will be included in the minutes of the meeting. Also, per the meeting notice, this meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. This meeting, I received no submitted comments in writing, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like everyone to note my Christmas tree cup. This is the week before Christmas, and it's very important that everybody see this. I hope you have one yourselves. Our first report is the approval of the board minutes. Do I have a motion? Oh, we can't prove anything. Dang.
We will have to come back to that.
Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay, let's have a report on operating performance. Tim.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know sure whether or not she was going to introduce me, but I guess I'll
come on.
I'll go right into it then. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and everyone. And happy holidays to everyone as well. Starting with the operations report, located starting on page 15 of the board packet. We're holding pretty steady as far as the month-to-month stats goes. The only thing I do want to point out, though, however, is that for the month of November, we did take somewhat of a in the lost trips and the scheduled trips operated, mainly because around the Thanksgiving holiday, during that service week, we had several trips that did not operate around that period. But otherwise, all the stats have been holding pretty constant, even with the specialized service as well. I want to spend just a moment to focus on staffing and COVID and where we are going in terms of a positive direction and some good news I wanted to share. Currently, we're at 245 full-time operators and 23 part-time operators, which is low. It's lower than we've had in the last several years, definitely pre-pandemic. But I do have some good news. We have 8 operators currently in training that started in October. This is the first group in which we did the modification to the hiring criteria, and bonus and so forth. So they're still sticking with us, and hopefully they'll be graduating sometime around mid-January. We have another 9 that started yesterday, in fact. And let me back up for a second. Due to the continuous efforts, and I want to applaud and commend Melissa, the HR department, and everybody who has stepped up and did a tremendous job when it comes to the advertisements, the recruiting efforts, and so forth. We had 30 candidates for operators that we interviewed last month and earlier this month, to where we got the numbers that we have for the upcoming classes. So like I just said earlier, we have 8 that started yesterday, and another 9 that will start on January the 3rd. So we had a tremendous response. We've got quite a few folks starting, and we already have some people in the pipeline. Right after the holidays, first of the year, we're going to conduct more interviews to get people in for another class, hopefully around late January or early February. So we're really excited about some of the positive dividends that we've gotten, and I'm sure that Tony will be sharing with you some of the maintenance employees that have come on board as well. With our booking, that started this past Sunday. We did reduce service, as we've talked about over the last few months, and with board approval, we make some changes. We're down to 202 runs. We've seen fewer missed trips so far the last few days. And we are, excuse me, we put out information in regards to the pilot program that started as well this week. Uber, we're still working with them to get started, and hopefully they'll be online with us within the next week or two, or hopefully by the 1st of January. But we do have some backups, user and our own operators. I want to make sure I don't forget about our own operators and supervisors that are pitching in as well to help with those on-demand trips. So basically, just to give you a quick little summary of that, you know, for those service hours in which we did have reductions in service, 5 to 6 a.m., 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., customers can call if they don't have a bus that normally would come during that period, and we would dispatch someone out to pick them up. So far, we haven't had a response as far as a ride yet. It's only been day 2, but as soon as I'm sure the word will get out, people will who have that need. And this is a holiday week too, so some people might be off this week as well. But we'll be here ready to bring that support and need to those people as you know, as needed. And as far as our equipment goes, we do have new equipment on the street as well. 15 new specialized vans went on the street late last month, and then we have 15 new fixed route buses that went on the street within the last few weeks. And on the COVID front, we have over 90% of our employees that did or have received the vaccine. So we did get some positive results over the last few months. You were down in the 70s there for a while, but you know, we have had a good response with COVID as far as the vaccine goes. We still have a few cases here and there, and we are concerned about you know, with Omicron and Delta out there and the rise in cases nationwide. But you know, we're continuing with our mandates. We're pushing the word out to make sure that folks get vaccinated. Continuing with our you know, 6 feet apart, mask wearing, and so forth, because the mask mandate by the federal government has been extended to March of next year, March 18th. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
So Tim, how many missed trips have we had in the last couple of days now that we've reduced the number of required trips?
Well, I know this morning we didn't have any, knock on wood.
Wow.
Yesterday we had a few routes here or there, but it's much less than what we had over the last few months. You know, I've told folks around here, you know, it's usually darkest before the dawn. You know, we've had some dark days here over the last, but I can tell you that, you know, we've had only, you know, 2s and 3s and single digits over the last few days, as opposed to, you know, several. You know, we'll take that. We're still, you know, going to have some hiccups here or there because we still got to get those numbers up. But as folks graduate and people come back from long-term illnesses and so forth, we should see those numbers drop, because our goal is 0 missed trips due to no operator or no equipment. So we're going to get there, you know, one way or another. So
you are seeing a significant change then?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. All right. And the other thing I want to ask, because these things always excite me, do we have any new bells and whistles on our 15 new buses? Well, we do have new equipment that is that'll be coming, that even though the customers may not see it, our new vehicles will be installed or are being installed with new consoles. We have a new system called disruption management. So we're training our staff and operators and supervisors so that we can have real-time directional updates as far as detours go and other information, so that operators will get that real-time as well. We do it now radio-wise, but we'll have a more streamlined process as far as information goes out. The screen is more user-friendly and so forth. So we're looking forward to that, hopefully within the next month or so. We met yesterday
I got kind of a little bit of an update on that, but we'll go through and get our timeline straight as far as the exact rollout date. And I'm sure, if Carrie needs to put that information out, but it will be a useful tool for us, and it'll help the customers as well, because we'll be able to get more and accurate real-time information to the public.
Thank you.
If I can add to that, Mr. Campbell. So one of the things that I personally am really excited about is we have put on the back of all of our buses the destination. Yeah. So when I first got here and I was riding the buses, if I got to the bus stop pretty much on time and a bus passed by me, I didn't know, did I miss my bus? Is that the one I was supposed to get or not? Because there's no signs on the back of the buses. These new buses now have a sign that'll tell you the route number. So if you're looking, you're concerned that you may have missed the bus, you can look at that bus and you'll know. That's an exciting one.
Okay, right. All righty.
It's a small thing, but for a rider when it's critical that you know what bus just passed you, it makes the world of difference.
Right. All right, board members, any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much, Tim.
You're welcome, and happy holidays again.
Happy holidays, yeah. So Patricia Robinson, ridership performance, I'm thinking.
And
yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes,
I
thank
can
you.
make the board aware that we do now have quorum with Ian.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey, let's approve the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
So moved.
Come on, guys.
Second.
Thank you. All right.
Thank
Good. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
It's done. All right. Thank you. Are there any opposed? No. Hi, Ms. Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this is the monthly ridership report for November 2021. In total, we were looking at 700,705 riders, 554,603 being our local fixed route. When we look at our month over month, it is a slight decrease. This is pretty typical from our October to November trend. November tends to have more, an increased number of cold weather days, as well as the start of our increase of holidays. But when we look at our year over year for November of 2020, we are up 10% and up 10% from our pre-COVID November 2019 numbers, which is really exciting. This is really a testament to our zero fare program and highlights the necessity of our service for our riders, that even in the midst of a pandemic, we've been able to grow our local ridership.
Trish, can you put up the, share your screen very quickly to show that for the
Oh,
people
I'm
at
so
home
sorry.
who don't have the board? Yes,
I was pointing and everything.
yes, ma'am.
So sorry, everyone.
So the exciting news, as Trish was saying, is, yeah, where she's pointing out. Go ahead, Trish.
Yes, so this is our increase, our 10% increase from November of 2019, our pre-pandemic baseline numbers that we've been working off of, which is really exciting to see our local ridership grow in that capacity.
So how does that compare to other systems in the country? That's amazing, 10% up.
We have seen a lot of systems in the country still at a negative trend in ridership.
Are there others that are having this experience?
I can report a little bit on that. We've been trying to watch the trend, and we haven't heard so far of any others that have seen quite this level of recouping on their locals. We do know that there are some others who have been in a better position with their local routes similar to us, but I haven't heard of any that are doing better than we are. We're being reported out in national media as leading the way on the return and the recovery, full recovery of our local service. And not only that, now we're going to be reporting out that we are almost 10% higher than pre-COVID for November.
Great. Okay, thank you. Anything else on that, Ms. Robinson? Or that's your ridership. Thank you for your report.
Absolutely, thank you.
Safety performance, Mr. Carter.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'll be going over the safety performance report for the month of November. This is found on pages 29 through 31 of your board packet. Starting off with the results for the month. Overall, we saw a decrease in external events, non-preventable incidents, and preventable incidents. Specialized care, they had 0 passenger events. They had 6 traffic events. 3 were preventable and they were minor incidents, mailboxes, things of that nature, and 3 were non-preventable. Assaults on operators, and I kind of breezed over the events because we did have a decrease in all of those, but I really wanted to focus on the assaults on operators. This is a new, if you look at your board package, this is a new thing that we're sort of tracking along with the graphs and data that we presented over the last year. And GRTC is certainly non-exclusive to what the rest of the nation is facing when it comes to these type of unfortunate events. We've seen an increase in assaults on operators throughout the country. One thing I do want to bring everybody up to speed on is these assaults that I'm reporting are actual assaults that have stopped operations, meaning that these are situations where the operators felt uncomfortable, had to call in the dispatch, and supervision and/or police have responded. I want to credit our operators. They do an excellent job of diffusion situations. I mean, some of the things they come across and some of the things that they handle on their own without stopping operations are just amazing. You know, from the passenger that gets on and becomes disgruntled, and these operators take it upon themselves to, like I said, diffuse the situation, keep things moving, and not hold up any types of operations, anything. Unfortunately, for the month of November, we did have 1 verbal assault, which is just, of course, words. By the time supervision got there, the actual passenger left the bus. We did have 3 physical situations. And unfortunately, one of those was the gun violence situation that happened between the passengers and resulted in a fatality. Specialized care, we did have 0 verbal, and we had 2 physical situations. One involved a passenger kicking an operator, and then the other one involved a little pushing situation.
Put it next to mine.
Basically, like I said, in looking at the board packet, if you look at the graphs and tables that we presented in that, it just gives some data of the last year, look over that and give you some idea of where we are with everything. We did see an increase during the summer. Things have somewhat calmed down now. We're also tracking some other things that's going to help us give us data on what we can do so far as administration, supervision, and the type of response time that we're receiving from the police department. So far as video supported incidents, so far as when it was actually called in, supervision, and when they responded, as well as police and when they responded. All of these things we're trying to do to keep relationships between the police department so that we can both come up with ideas on how we can better respond to those certain situations. We did have our first safety department meetings for our operators since the pandemic. They were in person in the middle of November. We had tremendous turnout from that. Operators gave great feedback. We were lucky enough to have one of our local Richmond police officers attend that. He gave a lot of information about being positive and how he deals with his situations, the people that he deals with. And he stated that, you know, just having a positive attitude. And the operators really took a lot of takeaways from that. They were giving their stories, and the police officers were giving their stories, and you know, it was just a good interaction between the police department and the operators. The operators were excited about it, as well as the police department, and the police officers already you know, made commitments to come back and join some of our safety meetings. Another thing that we're doing is the banning process, and this is something that we've been discussing for a while, meeting with different ones on the administrative side, as well as Julie and Cheryl. And what we try to do is speed this up a little bit. When we have a situation where a passenger comes on and does something that will not be tolerated, we don't want to have to wait around and come up with different ideas on this and that. We want to move forward on, especially when it comes to banning a person. And we've created a ban board, putting pictures up, notifying communications so far as notifying dispatch and the operators to let them know that this person, because of their actions, will no longer be allowed to ride the bus, because those actions won't be tolerated. We have tracking procedures on that, tracking data on that as well. Just to give the operators the idea is that we're here to support them. You know, we know what they go through, and we know sometimes it can be challenging out there, and we want to be able to support them as much as we possibly can to show that, you know, we don't want that type of stuff to happen to our operators. And if there are no questions, that concludes the safety performance report for the month of November. Thank you.
I have a question. On this band practice for customers, how long is that in effect for that particular customer?
Well, basically what we do, we have a meeting, and what we'll do is, depending on the type of actions that they have, you know, what we're looking at is it's going to be a permanent ban up front. Now, we do have situations where we can ban people for a certain amount of time, but if a person does something so egregious that they deserve to be banned or they need to be banned, what we're enforcing is a permanent ban. And then if they come back and ask or request for permission to ride, or if we feel like a situation where it doesn't require a permanent ban, then we'll do a certain time frame.
Do they receive a written notice of that, Tony?
Yes, sir. Basically what we'll do is we have a letter that's drafted, and it have to be signed by Julie, and it'll be mailed out to that individual.
If I might also add that this is one of those policies that is one of my favorite words, squishy. If, for example, we have something incredibly violent that happens on a bus, and we have the video and the police are involved, what we can do and what we're doing at this point is getting the image of the person who had the offensive act, whatever that might be, that was so egregious, and we put that up so our operators know the face of the person. We might not immediately know the person's name or their address or how to contact them while the police are involved, but we can get that image to other operators. So if operators do see that person, they can contact police or supervision if it's someone where they feel uncomfortable, and they can get that support. Where in the past, they didn't know. And this is just one way that we can advance the support to our operators while we're going through the process, versus them feeling like they're out there alone and we're not doing anything. So it is not a clean process. It's not something where we're asking our operators to act like police and to keep people off, but we're giving our operators information about people who may not, shouldn't be riding, and that if they need that additional support, they can then contact supervision and dispatch through special codes so they can get that support and they can stay safer out there. And we can speed up our response time. So it's not a perfect system, but it is iterative, and we're working with the police and safety to continuously improve this process and improve the feeling of security. I think you can see if you look at page 30 of our report and you look at the number of assaults that we have, it is very, very low. And that's the good news. The better news is that we're going to get it better.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cartwright, any further questions or comments? Thanks very much for that. Mr. Byrd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our KPIs for the month of November were at 8,261 miles between roll calls. We've exceeded our goal, which is 5,200 miles. Our PMs for the month of November were right at 84% with a goal of 80%. Currently, 21% of the fleet is down for service and repairs with a spare ratio of 30%. As Mr. Barham mentioned earlier, all of the new vehicles have been inspected and are in service, and we have added 4 new techs to our team that look very promising. So our vehicle down for service list will continue to improve. We continue to clean and disinfect the entire fleet daily. And that concludes the maintenance report.
All right. Are there any further questions? Thank you for your report. Thanks for the healthy machines and the clean machines. This is really good.
You're welcome.
All right. Portable restrooms. Oh my goodness. Let's go for it. What you got, Tim?
And we'll share my screen. Yeah, so on page 33 of the board packet, you'll see the item for portable restroom facilities. Just to give you a little background, right after the start of the pandemic, with down and no facilities for the operators to use as far as restrooms go, There was a need that the staff felt, obviously, to strategically place portable restrooms in the area. So back on March the 27th, the staff contracted Edmonds Water Removal to place those 5 portable restrooms in areas around the service area. And that service agreement is due to expire on December the 31st of this year. Now, with the pandemic still ongoing, we still have some constraints as far as restroom facilities system-wide goes. So staff feels that there's still a need for these portable restrooms to continue ongoing. So just to give you some highlights, the vendor would provide 5 portable restrooms, like I mentioned earlier, throughout the service area. And those restrooms would consist of a toilet, a wash basin with water, soap dispenser, and hand towels. Also, the restrooms would be cleaned once a day, at least once a day for 7 days a week. 2 vendors submitted quotes, and the one with the lowest responsive and responsible quote was Edmonds Waste Removal Incorporated. And you'll see the breakdown here as far as the cost goes, with 5 portable restrooms at $140 per porta potty for 12 months is $8,400. Hand washing station, $90 per unit for 12 months at $5,400. Cleaning services for 7 days a week for 12 months at $750 a month, $45,000. If we need to relocate any of the portable potties, there's a $20 fee for that. So the monthly cost less any relocation fees is $4,900, and the annual cost less any relocation fees is $5,800. The price and analysis was done, and we found that Edmonds, to be fair and reasonable, the agreement we have set up here today is for 1 year base with 2 1-year option years. Edmonds is a Virginia Department of Small Business and Supplier Diversity certified as small and women-owned enterprise. And it'll be funded through the Federal COVID Relief Fund services that we'll be using for that. So the recommendation is that the Board of Directors authorize the CEO to execute a contract with Edmonds Waste Removal Incorporated for portable restrooms and cleaning services for an estimated value of $58,800 per year, with 1 year option and the estimated contract value of up to $200,000 for a contingency of $23,600 to include, possible relocation and deployment of additional portable restrooms if necessary.
So Tim, are these things locked? How do we have security on these?
Yes,
so that
yes.
only drivers can use them?
Yes, we do have, all of them are locked, and the operators and management personnel have the combination of access to them, yes.
All right. Any further questions on this? Could I have a motion to approve this, please?
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this most wonderful gift to our drivers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Barr.
Thank you.
Okay. Financial Administrative Report, Mr. Zinzarella.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. I'm going to share my screen at this moment. So hopefully everybody can see we're on slide 35, which is the announcing that I'm going to review the financial report for the 4 months ended October 31st, 2021. So moving over to slide 36, what we have here is the source of funds for the 4 months ended October 31st. And you can see right at the bottom, there's a unfavorable variance to budget of $2.66 million on a budget of $21.07 million. As we've had discussed in the prior months, it's primarily driven in the federal line area, which you see is the 2.62 million of the deficit. And that is a function of favorable operating expenses. As you will see in a couple slides, the operating expenses for the 4 months ended October 31st, 2021 are favorable to budget by $2.87 million. So there's not a lot of concerns here on the revenue streams. The directly generated funds revenue is slightly unfavorable at $12,000, which is basically favorable auxiliary transportation revenue, which is our advertising revenue, is favorable to budget by about $102,000, offset by the passenger fares. That's the discounting for the month of July for the VCU contract was the last month that we were giving them the credit as a result of the school being closed. That's the month of July. And then the other agency revenues is the interest income target, which we will amend for the upcoming budget. As you can see, the local government funds, they're just tracking on, slightly positive to the $10.76 million budget. The state government's slightly unfavorable, a little about $31,000 on a budget of $4.1 million. So the main story here is that the unfavorable revenues in the federal funds is a function of the favorable spending and operating expense. So you see it is split between the 5307, so we're not flexing the 5307 for PM because there's not the need to, as well as we're a little bit favorable on the CARES Act urbanized area fund programs. Moving over to slide 37 is just the standard narratives and tables view of the revenues for your review. Slide 38 is the eye chart for the operating expenses, but we're going to focus more or less on slides 39 and 40, which is the forward view for the operating expenses. As you can see at the bottom of slide 40, as I had indicated previously in the revenues, that on a budget of $21.284 million, the operating expenses are favorable $2.87 million. And the primary driver of that, as you can see on slide 39 at the top, is our labor variance is favorable $2.177 million. And that's more or less a function of vacancies in the transportation as well as in the vehicle and maintenance facility functions. For the month ended October, at the end of the month, we were 23 positions favorable in transportation and vehicle operations relative to their budget of 331 personnel. And the vehicle maintenance and facility maintenance had 13 positions favorable on a total personnel budget of 77 folks. So the majority, vehicle operations is about $1 million of the $2.177 favorable variance. And that's primarily in wages for the operators. It's $774,000. Supervision is about $98,000. And then correspondingly, the fringe benefits is favorable in the vehicle operations of $166,000, which is a function of vacant positions. And you'll see the same breakout in the combination of the vehicle maintenance and facility maintenance, where the maintenance headcount is favorable to budget on their wages, about $303,000, and fringe is $119,000. And similarly, in the general administrative, favorable wages of compensation of $724,000, of which $403,000 is in salaries and wages, and the balance of $321,000 is in the fringe benefits.
So my gut kind of reacts to the use of the word favorable for vacancies and drivers and maintenance. I understand what you're doing, but
not by plan, but it's
not
credit to the folks.
Not what we want.
Yeah, it's credit to the folks on the front line is the results that Tim is getting and Tony is getting, as well as the ability to get buses on the street, as well as to have the manning. But obviously, there's positive news that we've heard in the recruiting classes. So from a financial standpoint, we're strong, and the folks on the front lines are doing a great job, and they're a testament to the.
And it sounds like you have administrative vacancies as well.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on to, we might as well hop over to slide 52, which is the income statement. This kind of shows the whole picture. As you can see, as I mentioned previously, our operating revenue is favorable, about $40,000. Other income's unfavorable, $52,000, and you can see our operating contributions is $2.6 million unfavorable, and as we talked about, it's in the federal line area and the CARES Act reimbursement. But looking down at the operating expenses, you see the equipment and facility maintenance, $785,000 favorable year to date. Transportation, $853,000. Planning, scheduling, marketing is the only one that's unfavorable, and that's nothing add to them, that's more or less the impact of all the good television advertising and media advertising that we're doing to get the recruiting classes so that we will fill these positions and get more drivers on the street in start of January 2022. All in all, with the, we're, from looking at year to date and changing net positions, we're, about break even. So, that's the story through October. Don't really see a lot of changes coming, in the month of November financials yet either. But we'll have some. Hopefully, when we get to January, we'll have more more items to talk about. Moving over to the balance sheet on slide 53. As you can see here, this is a balance sheet as of October 31st, 2021. Strong cash position from year end and as well as building from the prior month. Receivables are up about $1 million, and that's more or less a function because this is at the end of October. This is the outstanding collection of the quarterly operating invoices and monthly invoices. As you can see further down here, the restricted funds, the CBTA, 16.165 million. That's a function of it's October, so we did our second quarter fiscal year 2024 funding into GRTC operations, so that balance came down a little bit. But overall, in all, it's I consider a strong strengthening balance sheet from prior year end. Nothing to be concerned or alarmed about. Moving over to slide 54, the GRTC cash flow projection. This has actual October month end of 4.285 million, as well as I've captured the actual for the November month end is at 4.9 million. So we're at a strong cash position. We haven't had to dip into any operating reserves year to date, nor do we forecast. And it's following our pattern where we're a little more robust and high in cash position at the outset of the quarter, and it will go down at the end of the quarter. That's just a function of the CBTA funding in the beginning of the quarter and then working its way down. No real issues to note or discuss in regards to cash flow. Moving over to slide 55. This is, I call it the quarter ending December 31st, but obviously this is the information for that report through the month end of November. So what we see here in 2 months in, we received the October 29th and November 29th inflows, 2.3 million and the 3.389. Now I'll just make the comment on the 3.389 million for November, which was the actual month of October distribution. That number is a little bit high by about $700,000, if you may recall, at the end of fiscal 21. Because CBTA was new, the state of Virginia did not have the ability to appropriately deal with the sales and use tax large prepaying accounts. So they had to wait a couple of months they didn't have a beginning point, so they couldn't make the adjustment. So this is about $700,000 catch up from the June 2021 distribution. We are trending probably in the $2.4 million range for monthly distributions in the 15% account. And I believe the state of Virginia just released its December 2021 forecasts. So the 2021 forecast for CBTA is about $19.7 million lower than their forecast from December 2020. So that's about, for our sense and for our sake, is about $3 million difference between what they had originally said. But I think we're, obviously we do our own forecasting of it, and what we were a little more pessimistic than what they had presented before. So everything that we presented in the regional public transportation plan from financials and forecasts still hold. During the quarter, there were no costs incurred out of the CBTA funds for the regional public transportation plan. However, you see down here 4.925 million, of which 4.74 million was for operating expenses, the second quarter draw, and the second quarter draw for capital, leaving us an ending position at the end of November 30th of $18.5 million of cash that is split between our Wells Fargo bank account as well as the LGIP. Get out of the way. In the LGIP of 14.869, The majority of this 3.6 million, or $3.389 million was moved into LGIP in the first part of December, as we didn't have the need for that. So with that, I will draw my comments with regards to the month of October financials to a close and open the floor for any comments or questions.
Any questions or comments? All right, sir. Thank you very much for your report and your work.
Mr. Campbell, if I might make a comment, I know that Mr. Coles had asked for an update on the pension after we talked about that. And John, I think, is planning on giving that update next month. But I just want to just give you a little foreshadow that it is most excellent news. You're going to be extremely happy. I don't know if John wants to give a little teaser of that or just keep you in suspense until next month.
We have before. Julie's right. Her memory is a little bit better than mine. We talked about this and it slipped my mind this morning, but I did following as of the November meeting when Brown Edwards was going through the financial statements, because those financial statements were as of June 30th, 2021. It still noted the depletion analysis comments with regards to the defined benefit pension plan, and Mr. Coles had asked the question about an update. So I reached out to our actuary of record, which is Milliman, and I provided with them to them the new collective bargaining unit agreement that had the contribution rates that were increasing as of February 2021, then once again in October 2021, as well as the board resolution that was passed, I believe, in the month of August, that normalized or equated the non-bargaining unit folks to increase their contributions. With all that information, our actuary was able to run the analysis, and based upon the new contribution rates, the depletion date that was out there about 16 years is no longer present. So it's not a concern. So the benefits to that is that GRTC, when we go your actual analysis, we'll be able to use a higher discount rate. We won't be locked in because of the depletion to a low, a very significantly low interest rate based on pegged to like municipal debt. So the pension liability will go down, as well as we will no longer have to have the disclosure comments in our fiscal 2021 audit report about the status of the depletion of the pension plan. So we can provide the report at the January meeting, and I can walk you through that as well.
Appreciate it. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
So in summary, not to speak too soon, which I hate to do, but I'm going to anyway, the actions of this board, the actions of its management have basically healed the pension.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Congratulations. Any further comments or questions? Thank you, sir, for an excellent report. Now we have a procurement presentation. Tanya, I think. Hello.
Good morning and
morning.
season's greetings, everyone.
Yeah.
The board packet, your report for procurement is on pages 56 and 57 of the board packet. I'd like to point out that the procurement for snow removal services is underway. The pre-bid meeting was held last Tuesday, December 14th. Questions regarding the solicitation will be taken until 10 a.m. today, and bids are due by January 5th. So if you know of a company that would be interested in providing these services for us, please send them our way.
Okay.
The evaluation committee has identified a highest ranked proposer for the enterprise resource planning system procurement. The plan is to provide the executive team with a demonstration and obtain their feedback. Then we'll begin the negotiation process and bring a recommendation to the board in the early part of 2022. And lastly, we are in the midst of planning a procurement for all of our amenity needs at the new temporary transfer center. There are some significant delays in the production of amenities right now. So we'd like to purchase the shelters, benches, trash cans, and restroom facilities in order to get on the production schedule and get the amenities here in time to make improvements to our new location. Planning has oversight of this project, and the estimated purchase price is $324,000. The funding for this project has been approved in the FY21 budget. That's the end of my report. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
Sir.
What's the schedule on the move from the temporary transfer plaza to the temporary transfer?
Tanya, do you want me to jump in?
Please.
So I was going to address this in my my CEO's report, but let's go ahead and let's address it now. So we have a phased approach right now. We're talking with the city. Planning is having discussions with the city about the need to move away from the 9th Street location next to the security building and move to an interim temporary facility that would be moving the bus space that are currently on 9th next to that building onto Clay and onto 8th. And we expect that to be happening sometime in mid-January. We're hoping it'll get pushed out to February or March because the later we can do that, the less disruption we have to our riders. But we are moving very quickly towards messaging that and being prepared to start messaging that to our riders as soon as the turn of the year, if that is necessary. So that's the move to the interim temporary. And then of course the move to the new temporary is that one also has some issues and delays getting the final approvals of the final design through both FTA, DRPT, and the city. While they're reviewing those, we can't put that out to bid. So there's some delays there. There were also some delays because we had to get some FTA requirements on adjacent historic reviews that were unexpected. Those came up last minute. Those also delayed us. We expect the procurement to go out after those are completed, likely in the January, February timeframe. We'll also be coming back to this board with the agreement with the city to lease that property. With that said, if the procurement goes out in that January, February timeframe, once those designs are done, it is looking like we're looking at a late summer, fall move into that location, unless we can add some incentives to get any contractors to move more quickly. My concern, of course, is that when we have the market that we have right now with the workforce shortage in the construction industry, like we have everywhere else, and the supply chain issues that we have across the world, that we're not going to be able to have a very quick schedule in getting that done. We will push, but we are trying to manage some of those expectations as we move forward with so many unknowns.
Thank you. Thank you both.
All right. Any further questions, Ms. Thompson? Anything else anybody wants to ask about the temporary transfer plaza? Okay. Thank you very much. Happy Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Tim, CEO's report.
Thank you. So I have my notes. Let me get those in front of me so I can stay on target. I was hoping for a very short CEO report. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a little bit longer than I'd hoped, but I'm still going to keep it short. We're still going to get to our next part of this meeting very quickly. First thing, vaccine mandate. The good news, I think that Tim already mentioned, is that GRTC is over 93% vaccinated, and this is incredible news. We were so concerned earlier this fall that we weren't going to reach this goal, and we were going to have some issues with the Biden mandate coming out about whether or not our workforce would stay whole through this process. And because of the action of the board, the approval of the board, we've been able to get those incentives out there for people to notify us of their vaccination, to have that incentive to stay with us, and that's where we're at 93% vaccinated. You may recall that I did mention that we were looking to postpone our own vaccine mandate last month while the courts were reviewing the Biden vaccine mandate. And this gave many of our team that time they needed to go out and get their vaccinations and report it, which is where we're seeing those incredible numbers come back to us. And we're also seeing a lot of people getting their boosters, which is very, very exciting considering the news of the effectiveness of boosters to keep our immunity strong as these new variants are coming out. But that still leaves about 30 people throughout the organization that haven't reported their status to us. So that doesn't mean that they're not vaccinated. It just means that we don't know because they haven't told us yet. Last week, I think Sunday, we saw in the paper that I'm sure it happens soon, but saw it on Sunday, the Federal Appeals Panel ruled that the Biden vaccine mandate can move forward. With that, the Labor Department put out a statement that they would start enforcing that mandate effective February 9th. And that does impact us in our workforce. It impacts those 30 employees who are not vaccinated or haven't reported their vaccination to us. We'll continue to watch for any action by the Supreme Court to see if they'll take this up through an emergency session or not. However, with the way we're watching it, I do expect the GRTC mandate to be put back on the table after the new year, and that will bring back the risk of suspension and termination for any of our unvaccinated employees. And we expect our mandate to take effect concurrently with the federal requirement, which currently is looking like February 9th. So there's still time for our folks who are not vaccinated or haven't reported vaccination to go out and get that and get it done before February 9th. Our goal remains 100% vaccination prior to that date. We're very close, and I'm so thrilled that folks have stepped up to get their vaccinations and to stay safe. I was next going to report out on the interim transfer center.
You do have an incentive for vaccination, correct?
We do. The incentive is as much for vaccination, but the incentive, I think, for staff is to report back to us their vaccination status. Not only do they have to get the vaccination, but they have to give us that documentation. And the incentive that was approved by the board was $500 for their initial vaccination and $500 for the booster, which will last for the next 6 to 8 months as people are going through the process of getting their boosters. And I think most people were extremely appreciative to get that. We were able to get the first round of it out last week, which was a nice little Christmas gift or holiday gift for folks to be able to have a few more dollars because they did the right thing, and on top of it, stay protected as they are with their families through this holiday season. So it's a double bonus for everyone. I did want to report out that we did have a holiday gift for our employees that we just announced yesterday. So every year when we budget our activities for the year, we have employee activities, including our Employee Appreciation Day. When I first got here, it was at King's Dominion. We have our holiday banquet that happens in the December timeframe. We have our annual rodeo that also happens in the fall. These things, we budget for them, but with COVID, we have not been able to actually do them. Also, when I got here in 2019, we added a holiday gift card to all of our employees so that they could have a little bit of, it was a grocery card, so that they could add a little bit to their own Christmas tables to share on behalf of GRTC to celebrate. All of these activities are the things that kept the GRTC family connected every year, and they kept the GRTC family's morale high. Not having them this last year and the year before, as these events were canceled, really had a very significant impact on our employee morale. Last year and this year, we decided to use those budgeted funds for the holiday gift for our employees to replace the fact that we couldn't meet with them in person, to give them a little bit of appreciation back and bonus. Last year, the gift was a backpack. I don't know how many of you have seen our mechanics and our operators come to and from work each day, but they bring a lot of personal stuff with them. A change of clothes, their lunch, their breakfast, their meals. It's a lot that they bring to and from work. So last year it was a backpack. This year we watched them fill up the backpack and still come with a roller bag. So the gift this year was a GRTC branded roller bag. They just came in yesterday. We also added, over last year, people were able to wear a short sleeve purple polo shirts. You may have seen them. People love them. And now that we're in winter, we added the long sleeve GRTC polo to the gift. And finally, we are continuing our tradition of the Kroger gift card so that our staff can have a little bit more for their holiday table with their families from us to share with each other. And that is a $100 gift card from Kroger's for their holiday meal. This year, we also did extend the $100 gift card to our First Transit family as well. Each of these are individually below the threshold that allows me to do this. However, I did talk with Ben, and he did give approval for it since the total cumulative value was slightly above my authority of $50,000. The total was approximately $85,000, and in total, it still came out less than our budgeted amounts for all the canceled events that normally we would have had this year. So we put out a message, and all of our response we've gotten so far from our team is that it has had the desired effect to show our team the appreciation we have for them, our care for them, and it has improved morale. And we've heard back from them giving thanks to you and to the management team for this ongoing appreciation and this ongoing feel of a family environment. So happy holidays to all of them. Another thing that I'm thrilled to announce is that we did receive notice. Happy holidays. GRTC was awarded $8 million grant by DRTP and the Commonwealth Transportation Board to support our zero fare application, which will allow us to continue the zero fare program from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2025. Now, our application, we're told, was successful due to several factors, and these are important to note. The first factor was the detailed depth of analysis and data collection of our fare system and the collections, including impacts on GRTC revenues and expenses, and how we're balancing that, as well as the impacts to our transit riders and our total transit ridership. As we talked about earlier in this meeting, GRTC is one of the very few agencies in the nation where our local ridership is now exceeding pre-pandemic levels. And we are currently attributing this based on our ongoing zero fares. We'll study that over the next 3 years, but it is a very clear correlation. Second, maybe more importantly to our success, was the broad support we received in our application to continue the study. And this came from funding commitments from Mayor Stoney in the city of Richmond, as well as from VCU, to continue the annual appropriations and the matching of the state funds, as well as the resolutions of support that we received from the TPO Policy Board and this GRTC board. Without that local support, the state grant would not have been possible. But third, and finally, and most thankfully, it is the action of the state legislature and the Commonwealth Transportation Board itself that provided the changes in the legislation and the changes in the funding to make these funds available across the state to continue to assess the impacts of fares on our essential workforce. So I am thankful to all of these bodies for that. There's still so much to study on the costs and benefits of zero fares versus having a subsidized fare system, including the impacts on riders and local communities and the regional economy. And we will be doing those studies over the next 3 years. This is the foregone conclusion that we will stay this way forever. It is, of course, dependent upon the annual allocations of our local matches to support the state money. And while I hesitate to draw any final conclusions on the long-term implications of fare collections in RVA until we've had more time to study these issues, because there are so many pros and cons to weigh, I will state that for now, it is indisputable that GRTC is providing an essential mobility service, and we are breaking down the barriers to access to essential resources, and we are directly benefiting thousands of essential workers and our most economically vulnerable members of our local communities through these ongoing zero fare operations. I am overwhelmingly thankful to our state and local partners for their support as we continue to actively connect our communities and create opportunities for better health and more just prosperity. So I have 2 more things to say, and I'm almost done talking. The first is to remind all of our board members that we will be meeting in person January 18th at the RRTPO meeting room, courtesy of Plan RVA. That is located at 9211 Forest Hill Avenue, Richmond, Virginia, 23235. We still have a virtual option available for members of the public and for people who cannot attend in person. However, based on the reading of the state of emergency from Richmond, as well as the state FOIA requirements, and I'll let Bonnie weigh in on this if she needs to, but it appears that unless something changes, board members and staff will need to meet in person, unless, of course, there is some new announcement from the state of Richmond or the state extending the COVID state of emergency for rules of virtual meetings. And I'm going to say one more thing, and then I'll be done. And if we need to come back to that, we certainly can. And that is to wish all of GRTC employees a happy holiday, and on behalf of all GRTC employees, to thank the board for your ongoing support of our team. We've worked through a very difficult year, again, second in a row, and I'm confident we have turned a corner with our high vaccinations, with our high recruitment, and with our quickly increasing staff morale. Not a day goes by this month where we aren't hearing directly from our employees how much they appreciate their job and the leadership here that has protected their jobs, their benefits, and their health and their safety. We're not done yet. We have a long way to go. It will take the team working together to really turn everything around, but the ship is turning. with that, I hope everyone has a peaceful and very healthy winter holiday, and we all come back in 2022 with a much better new year. And so, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if there are no questions, that does conclude the CEO's report for December and for 2021.
I have a question before you finish. This is back to hiring practices.
Yes,
Is there any mandate when you hire somebody that they got to have the vaccination when they come in to be an operator or mechanic or whatever?
we
Do
have
they come in
requested-
with any vaccination?
It is part of, yes, sir. It is part of the recruitment that they're notified they will have to have their vaccination. Now, because the vaccine mandate isn't in place, we can't hire them, and they have a period of time where they can get that vaccination prior to the February mandate. So if someone comes in, we're not preventing them from starting work, but they know that they cannot stay with us for within this time frame without that vaccination. So they are made aware during the hiring process, and we are collecting that data as they come on board.
So they can come in,
not
and
trying
if I wanted to be an operator, I could come in without the vaccination, but I have a certain length of time to get it.
Yes, we are not going to block anyone from coming to work for us. We're removing those barriers, but people have to be aware that that mandate is coming up, and if they don't start their vaccination process, they will not be staying with us. They won't be eligible for the hiring bonuses, all those benefits. They have to have those to stay with us, but we don't want to slow down our recruitment because it's
Right. But I can start training in the training room without being vaccinated.
with your mask on.
Okay.
Just like everyone else, yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I think, just to underline this, this 3-year study now and experiment with no fare service is really important, obviously, and puts us in a unique position in the country. There are a few other systems doing this, and I would appreciate, Julie, at some point, some outline of what our study process is going to be on this. I think it's very important. It represents a major change in our understanding of public transportation as a public service and fundamental amenity for a healthy and growing metropolitan community, and has all sorts of implications, I think. And I'm very excited by it. I think it's really important, and there are a number of things to look at in addition to of the many issues that have been raised and the opportunities that it gives us for expansion, for more ridership, for somewhat for economies of time in our service, because people don't have to put fares in the box. There are a lot of things to look at here, and I think if we could be clear about how we're going to do this, that would be important. Who else in Virginia got this grant?
Oh, I would have to go back and look. I believe there were 6, and unfortunately, I was so excited for us, I didn't look at the rest, but there were several that got it. Yes.
Okay, well, let's make sure we know about that too, and because we can share research with them as well.
Oh, yeah.
And but let's congratulate. I want to congratulate Julie for her work and vision on this. This has been something that she has really worked at, as we all know, and I think it's terribly important. The only other thing I have to say is how much I've come to appreciate what it means to drive a bus and help this public transportation thing happen from an employee point of view. It's about, I'm in the business of helping people understand what their mission in life is. That's what ministry is about. That's my other job, and this is real ministry. This is really serious work, and I am really grateful for the people who work for this operation and feel like they do stuff that is terribly important.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I'd just also like to say, I am just so proud of the overall workforce and the percentage that have, reported their vaccination status or the vaccine status and the numbers that actually got the vaccine. When we compare that to where we are as a nation right now, and which is I think around 61%. It's fantastic. Leadership with the creating the incentives to do so. I think is brilliant, and people taking advantage of it. Smart on their part, both financially and health-wise. But I really do appreciate people doing that in order to allow us to keep rolling and allow just to allow us to keep moving forward. So I
Thank you.
just really appreciate it.
Any other board comments before we move on to the motion for an executive session? All right. Well, my last board comment is Happy Christmas to all of you, or holidays if you prefer the word. And I'd like to see if we have a motion for an executive session. Ian, yeah.
Yes, I move that the board hold a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711A29 of the Code of Virginia to discuss the status and terms of a contract for the provision of health insurance, because discussion in an open session would adversely affect GRTC's bargaining position.
Second, please. All right, George, you're muted, but I saw your mouth. All in favor to move into executive session for this purpose, say aye.
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 All right, thank you. All opposed? We need to move into executive session, whatever it takes to do that.
Okay. So Dexter will walk.
public session now, and
No,
no, not yet.
no, we're waiting for Dexter to come back.
Come back, Dexter.
All right, I'm back on.
All right,
And you are good to go.
thank you. Go for it.
All right, whereas the Board of Directors of GRTC has convened in closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section 2.2-3712 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law, now therefore be it resolved that the board hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, one, only public matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certifying resolution applies, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Witness the following vote of board members: Ben Campbell,
Yes.
George Braxton,
George.
Mute
yeah.
thing. Yes.
there we go. Eldridge Coles,
Yes.
Nina Milliken, yes. Gary Armstrong and Danny Smith were absent.
All right. Thank you for that. Is there any further business before this board? Anybody have anything else to say? I hope you have a good Christmas, and thanks to the staff and to all you good people for doing the work and having a very creative year.
Happy holiday to everyone.
Bye.
And we'll
Happy
see each other in
Kwanzaa.
person in January.
All right.
Yes, how about
Maybe.
that?
Allegedly.
Maybe it all depends on this.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, okay, bye-bye, guys.
Take care.